Bureau of Statistics, it shows that the Kikuyu are still the majority, having reached 8.1 million in the country in 2019 compared to 6.6 million in 2009. Luya community 6.8 million from 5.3 in 2009. The Kalenjin community 6.5 million from 4.9 million.
All right, these are the census results. We continue looking at them. The Luo community in 2019, you now stand at about 5 million, but in 2009 you were at 4 million. The Kamba community in 2009 you were 3 million. Now you're about 4.6 million. We're not sure about the Somali numbers for 2009, but right now Somali community stands at about 2.7 million.
All right, and the reason why you're not sure is that that number was contested. It had been put at 2.3, but the figures are contested. Then the small tribes, we have Dahalo, they are 575. They are usually found at the coast. Kenyan Americans, they are now 596. The Gosha, 685. El Molo, 1,104. And the Konso in Marsabit, 1,299. These are the list, the smallest tribes that we have in the country. And obviously the other details that follow. So as we look at this conversation, gentlemen, so the ethnic nature of the politics in the country, as we know it, is obviously going to influence even how the boundaries are designed and also the contest in 2022. We'll be looking at what the Cabinet Secretary in charge of National Treasury said. But first, when you look at these numbers, what do they tell you, especially politically? Who wants to go first?
The problem is when you look at numbers, you start thinking of votes. You remember that old meme that when a politician looks at a crowd of people, he's only seeing sheep and cows. So it might be the wrong way to look at this. And some allow me to look at this differently, because for me, this census tells me some other stories that we need to focus on. It tells us about the demography of this country, that this country is about young people. And when we are here having a conversation, what are we saying about the young people? Because the numbers are there. And we know that age 35 and below is a majority of Kenyans. This country, women have become more empowered. One interesting thing from this survey is that more women are in employment than men. So that when we go for BBI rallies and we are saying we ring-fence positions for women on the assumption that women have disadvantages, then we are starting on the wrong premise.
Senator, you can't equate women and their employment, their employability. You can't equate that to executive positions. Just because more women are employed doesn't mean at the political realm things are the same way.
But the reality is that
gender never been passed.
The reality is that there are more women in employment than men. Leave alone the two-third or one-third thing. We've been assuming that women are underprivileged, but there's a certain bracket where women are just as competitive as men are, and they have equal opportunities. And so I'd like to look at those things. I'd like to look at issues of poverty and how it is distributed, so that it can help us to come up with a formula for revenue sharing, so that when we are sharing revenue and when we are disbursing money, we are not just disbursing money to go and account for cows and trees and camels, but to go directly into people. But when it comes to the politics, you know, not all communities in this country are politically homogeneous. There are just a few of them that are politically homogeneous. Probably the Luo, they'll vote to a man, to the last man, for a cause. Maybe the Kikuyu. When you talk of Luya as a tribal bloc, there are very many subsets. So, for example, within the Luya nation, the Bukusu are the majority at 1.2 million. They've not been politically homogeneous. So no one should pick these numbers and start running around and saying that my people are many, so they're going to vote for me. Because it does not always follow that communities vote 100%, with the exception of very few communities in Kenya.
Of course, the top 5 communities contribute about 65% of the country's population. So there are so many people that have said that is the biggest challenge that you have in the country, because when those 5 disagree, then there's a problem in the country. But I want us to focus on something different. Ambassador Ukuri Atani, the Cabinet Secretary for National Treasury, spoke about these census results, and he says that IEBC has not been as cooperative in providing data to the census body, that is the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, to prepare what should be data that is specific to political zones. Let's listen to that.
KNBS will soon release volume 5 of the basic reports to give more insight to the distribution of the population by political unit. In fact, at this juncture, I want to appeal to IEBC once again to cooperate and be part of this journey because they are supposed to provide us the mapping so that the data can be translocated on the various administrative units to give an accurate result. And given the Kenyan political space, who are very keen about numbers and more keen about political outcomes, their cooperation is needed more than any other time.
Okay, so that's the Cabinet Secretary Kuriatani, but IEBC has responded with a statement. Let's just take a look at some of those slides, because they are saying that they are the body that is mandated to review the boundaries. And IEBC, in November 2019, IEBC requested for detailed census data as per sub-location, the location, division, and sub-county. That request was made in November 2019. Then KNBS wanted shapefiles. Shapefiles are technical boundaries information, but KNBS wanted data for population by political boundaries, but IEBC told them that only IEBC can do that, so they denied them the technical files. Then IEBC will provide KNBS with political boundaries maps, not shapefiles. Boundaries delimitation is the constitutional mandate of IEBC. So there's that confusion because the chairperson of IEBC, Ofule Chebukati, says that IEBC will protect the integrity of the impending and highly sensitive boundary delimitation process that is its express constitutional mandate. So won't you, as you reflect on what the ethnic numbers mean when it comes to boundaries review, and there has been the announcement but it should begin next month by IEBC, but there's a challenge of financing and that confusion you see of data. How do we approach this at a time that the country is so political, even as we approach 2022 and the conclusion of BBI?
Personally, first of all, I'm shocked when 65% of the country population is in the hands of only 5 ethnic communities.
Is it a problem?
It's a big problem.
Why?
Because we are now creating position through a referendum of having 5 positions up there: the president, deputy president, prime minister, and 2 deputies. Meaning, if these tribes can collude and be exchanging this position, today it is tribe A to be the president, tomorrow to be prime minister, and so on, then they will exclude the rest of the 40 tribes of this country. They will not need any of the 40 tribes of this country. But normally when we have only one position, that is the presidency, then it will be easier because no tribe is able to garner enough votes. So they will always be coming to the smaller tribes. When they come to the smaller tribe, we ask for favors, like we won a cabinet secretary position and so on. So this is worrying me, and that is why I suggested that instead of having this position being shared by communities, let it be shared by affirmative action groups.
Does the rotational presidency now make sense to you? Now that you're saying you don't 65% of the communities in Kenya.
It have always been making sense to me, the rotation, but let us have the affirmative action groups.
Okay, Honorable Lodge, what is your comment on the boundaries review and the confusion between KNBS and IEBC?
First of all, I think the law, I think it's Article 89.2, that says that the boundaries review needs to be done between 8 years, not less than 8 years, and then upper limit is 12 years. So it means we still have up to 2022 to do this. The reason I bring up this is that can IEBC grapple with the question of referendum, prepare for elections of 2022, and still be able to do a boundaries review? Take into account that the last boundaries review was contested for close to about a year. And then put into this mix the lingering question about the constitution of IEBC itself, in terms of are they properly constituted. So in view of this, my view is that the boundaries review should wait for 2022 after the elections. On the question as to the information that needs to be given to Treasury, I think that under Article 35 of the Constitution, the right of access to information, Treasury is not trying to do boundaries review. And I think that IEBC is being unnecessarily restrictive and guarded about information that should be in the public domain anywhere. Is there an information that is so secretive that Treasury cannot have, one arm of government? I think that this is being unnecessarily protected.
But you see, the problem we're having, and I'm saying also now on the tribal line, even my cousin who is here with me, is just thinking that my tribe must be in this position. Myself, my conscience is very clear. Anybody can be a president of this country. What we need to see is the structure of the government. Is the structure involving everybody in a certain percent. For example, when you are employing youth in national service, when you're employing the police, these are the things we should follow and see. Are they working exactly in all communities, having a position of being recruited as a police as well? Those are the things we should follow. But thinking that my community, let me tell you, if I talk about my Kikuyu, the other one talks now, if I talk to Kajuang about Kikuyu, I'm not from Central. In me, I'm Rift Valley. So now when I talk about Rift Valley, it will not achieve anything. Finishing, when you talk about the teachers, let's tighten the security, this time. We tighten the security and people will go there, people want job. But when we tighten the security, people will go there. And that is the failure of the government, because they need to make sure the security is there. You not look for the teachers. They will just be going there to look for job.
All right, in 30 seconds, your final word, Senator Kajuang.
Let's remember that this weekend the president was in Subukia and he was saying reggae is strong. Right Honorable Raila Odinga was in Garissa. He was saying reggae is strong. The deputy president was in Embu saying he's going to stop reggae. No, let the beat go on.
You're actually tempting me to play the bite of President Kenyatta. Do you have it so that we can compare with what Senator Kajuang is saying?
He talked about corruption and BBI. Do you have it? Reggae is strong.
President Kenyatta's bite, he was...
My president cannot talk of reggae because he's a God-fearing president.
Well, yes. I think what they say about proverbs, you don't have to
just
explain
hold on,
proverbs
Senator. Let's listen to the president. He spoke in Subukia. The only bite that we have of the president.
Tumefanya kazi pamoja kuhakikisha tuko na amani, kwa sababu bila amani hakuna kazi kwa vijana. Na ile amani ukisikia tunasema tunaongea juu yake, wakati tunaongea juu ya building bridges, ni kusema ya kwamba sioni sababu ya damu ya Mkenya awe ametoka wapi iwe itamwagika kwa sababu ya mashindano ya kisiasa. Tunaweza kushindana kisiasa, lakini tushindane kwa maono, sio kwa sababu ya kabila.
Okay, so that's the president.
That's the reggae we are talking about.
No.
Gentlemen,
he can't mention reggae because he's a
Anthony Lodge from
God-fearing
Mathare constituency, Honorable nominated MP David Ole Sankok.
Yes.
Honorable Kimani Gunjiri from Bahati constituency, Senator Moses Kajuang, thank you so much for making time for us. Colin Sodor tweets from Nakuru says that he's CDF chairman Bahati under the leadership of Honorable Kimani Gunjiri, the MP, where he leads us all in peace. Let this be not come to separate us. So that's it, chairman. Thank you so much for making time for us. And up next we have Sporty Monday with Willis Rabulu.
Yep. He's the one who's going to be taking care of that segment. So see you in a bit.